Hey guys, we are back. I'm Jeff here with eBay Addicts, and today I have a returning guest. I have with me Lewis Moore the third. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing good, and you, Jeff?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. So, real quickly, in case people don't know who you are, tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and tell them what it is that you do.
Yeah, okay, sure. My name is Lewis Moore. I currently live in Germany, but I was born and raised in Detroit. I like to think of myself right now. There's an echo. Is that me?
It's okay. I don't hear an echo. Go ahead.
I like to think of myself as a digital entrepreneur. I have a podcast that I talk about different things like motivation and money and learning and Amazon FBA. And I think I am just a person who likes to help other people kind of get away from the regular 9 to 5 job like I did and live and just show them that there's a different way of living.
Okay, I'm with it. So today our topic of video is going to be why it's your duty to get rich. So I think you dropped a video recently, it may have been a couple weeks ago, and you were kind of telling people why it's their duty and obligation to get rich. And it's not something that you can just sit back passively and just wait for something to just to fall and land in your lap. So what promoted you to make this video? And let's kind of get into your philosophy on your thoughts about this.
Okay, yeah. My current YouTube career is pretty much me just spending all day thinking about different things that I want to talk about and breaking them down into better versions so I can be able to relay that to other people. And one of the major things that I've been thinking about for the past couple of days through watching other podcasts, listening to other people, reading other books like the Unwitting the Devil and The Millionaire Next Door and all these different type of books, I've come to the realization about money because I never really knew about money. I started to study money a couple of years ago, and what I realized is I didn't know nothing about money. I didn't understand how it was made. I didn't understand how it was circulated. And learning more about money, I kind of realized money is just a tool. That's all money is. It's not good. It's not bad. And we like to demonize people who have money and say, oh, they're bad. They don't need all this money. Why do they have all this money? Give this person money. And they like to make it seem that like rich people are evil and bad. And after putting myself in more high class situations, I met a lot of different people who you would consider well off or rich, and most of them are the nicest people I've ever met. Like they are busting at the seams to kind of tell people how to get how they are, or at least tell their story of how to get there. But most people just don't want to actually work that hard. And that got me to the point to where I honestly believe that it is your duty to get as much money as possible. And when I say that, some people say, "Oh, that's bad. You shouldn't have as much money as possible, and it
Right.
should be equal," or like all these different things that don't make any sense. I'm like, think about all the things that money can do for you. You live in your house, you either have a mortgage or you have a rent because you need money to pay for that. Or the car that you drive, you have to pay for that. Like all these things you have to pay for. And you're actually the house you live in is not the house you want to live in. It's the house that you can afford to live in. The car that you drive, more than likely, it's not the car that you want to drive. It's the car that you can afford. So if you want to have better things and give like people like to say, "Oh, I have kids, so I want to give my kids a better life." The number one thing that can give them a better life is having more money. Of course, that's not all that's important, but I think that's the basis of it because that dictates the type of food you can give them, the type of environment you can put them around, the type of school you can put them in. So if you want to say you're living for your kids or everything that you do for your kids, then the number one thing should be it's your duty to get as rich as possible. You can get as rich as possible. No, nobody is saying like you have to get all this money and be like Scrooge McDuck and put it in the pool and then just dive in it and do nothing with it. You can get rich as you don't know what and build houses for orphans, or you can start foundations, or just helping the people out. Once you start making more money, you don't have to go out to even charities or do anything. It's so many people in your family that you can help. Do you know how much giving your mother an extra $1,000 a month can actually help her, or paying off the rest of her mortgage that she has 5 years left on, or like just things like that. So I really believe that getting money is getting as much money is the duty for like a lot of people.
Yeah, man, and I kind of think that along the same wavelength is like as I'm getting older, I'm 39 now, I'm almost 40, and since for a long time I kind of thought like I'm by myself, I'm not married, I don't have 5 kids to take care of, so I only need to make XYZ number of money to cover all my bills. But as I've gotten older, I can look around. I'm like, okay, my mom and dad is like we're going to reach retirement age soon. They're not going to be able to produce. So who's going to look after them and take care of them when they get ready to retire? You know, my sister has two little kids, and would it be nice to show up there on Christmas and say, hey, Uncle Jeff got you a new PS5 and just have it wrapped under the tree waiting for him? So a
Yep.
lot of things that you guys are thinking about, you're just thinking about this parallel mindset, like, oh, I only need so much money for me to be good. I need to hit this threshold of making 40, 50, 60 grand a year for me to be good, for me to drive, you know, whatever car it is that I'm driving in the house
I
that I'm
love that.
living. But what you're not realizing is like, what about these other people that are depending on you? You don't think about it, other people depending on you. You think, oh, I only have to worry about me. But in reality, like you have to think about, okay, well, what about your mother? What about your father? What about your grandkids? You know, what about your grandfather? You know, what about your nieces and nephews? They're all looking at you. Like my sister's got two kids, they're 10 and 12. They can't go get a part-time job at McDonald's somewhere. You know what I mean? So if they need some extra spending money to go to the movies or go out to dinner, where's the money going to come from? They're not old enough to work a job. So it's just what me and Lewis is saying. It's your duty for you to make more money, not only to provide for you, but to help increase the lives of other people around you so they can have a better life. You know, that's what a lot of parents are always think like, man, I want my kids to have a better life than I have. So that's their motivation to get up to work hard so the kids behind them can grow up and have a better life, right?
I want to say, first off, I'm going to steal that analogy that you just said because that is a way that I've never thought about it, but it is so true. So many of us say, these are my goals. I want to make this money so I can go here, or I can do that, or I can do that. But that's cool. That's fine. But like you said, what about your nieces and your nephews and your parents and all these people that you can help? Like when something goes bad, think about how good it would be for you to be like, somebody needs a surgery, but the insurance is not covering it and it costs $3,000. You can tell your sister, don't worry about it. I got it covered. Or if your mother's car breaks down and she can't get to work, you can say, you know what, we'll get you another car. Like being able to take the money that you earned ethically, legally, and like ethically is the and being able to spend it on people that you love and help them is like one of the best feelings that you can ever get from.
I'm telling you, bro. I'm telling you. And it's something you don't realize until you get, but they say you get wisdom with age. So I want to talk briefly about this book that me and you both read. It's called The Millionaire Next Door. If you guys haven't got a chance to read it or audio book. And in this book, they talk a lot about PAWs and UAWs. And basically, they're not talking so much about how much money you make. It's more about how you manage the money that you make. Because they had two people in this book they talked about, and they're both doctors, and they're both making around the same amount of money. And one guy was living paycheck to paycheck, just barely getting by. And the other guy just had assets everywhere because he was able to manage his finances, and his house was paid off, his car was paid off, where the other guy was financing it. He had like 5 cars in his garage, he had a mortgage and all this stuff. So when they got around the same age to retirement, one guy was financially well off. He didn't have any student loans, his car was paid for, his house was paid off, he had money set aside for retirement, and the other guy was walking around stressed out. Even though on the surface, it looked like both the guys were doctors, they both had a high income, but it was about how you manage your finances once you accrued this income, right?
Um, that book got me thinking about that theory, and then I came across two different, not theories, two actual proven facts with um athletes who go to the majors and get all this money and then they can't be an athlete anymore because they're too old and they age out or they get hurt, and lottery ticket winners who win millions of dollars so quickly. Both of these groups of people, more than less times, they end up going broke, and that goes back to being able to manage money. And we always talk about, like we just talked about it too, about you got to get the most money. You It doesn't help if you know how to get $1 million if you don't know how to manage $1 million, because you're just going to lose that money. So the Millionaire Next Door was one of the first books that taught me about how important it is to manage money. And now it got me into, I manage my finances every single day. For it only takes like 10 minutes now, but I set it up to every day. I sit down, I go through my bank account to say, what did I spend today? Or what did I spend yesterday? What money came in? Because if you don't know how much money you have, then you don't know how much money that you have.
Okay, now Lewis, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Tell me your top 3 books that you would advise people reading, or an audio book that they can listen to if they want to learn more about the secrets of getting rich or making money. Well, tell me your top 3 books that you would recommend people read.
Um, I would say Rich Dad Poor Dad, And that's actually going to be the only financial book that I'm going to give you, because I think getting money is a byproduct of your daily disciplines. So the next book would be Outwitting the Devil. That's one of my favorite. That's actually is my favorite book of all time, which is not like a religious book or anything like that. It's just saying how the being like how the world is governed by like different things like cigarettes, alcohol, being lazy, all these different things that people that are negative to people are like addicted to social media, and how if you're able to come over those things, then you can be a part of the 1%ers and like actually make a good life for yourself. So I really think that's good for building discipline and just kind of awakening, just like waking yourself up to realize you have to do some things different. And then after that, it will be the 5 a.m. club, because I am like, if you go to my Instagram, you will see like every other video I'm talking about waking up early, and like on my Instagram, I put what time I wake up early. It's between 4 and 5 every day. And I think that's the biggest discipline that I built, or the biggest habit, however you want to see it, that has helped me go from where I was 3 years ago to where I am at now. And I'm still like way at the beginning of my trajectory of where I want to go. So those are the three books.
I'm with you. Yeah, if I had to come up with three off the top of my head, I would go from Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. I would
Yeah.
talk about Grant Cardone has a book. It's called the 10X book.
Yes,
You
I
can
read
read.
that too.
Yeah, you can
That's
read that
actually
book.
my theory about everything. If I'm doing good now, let me just 10x it, and then I'll be 10 times better. But okay.
Right. It's talking about how if your goal is to make $1,000, you need to 10x your mindset to say, okay, now my new goal is to make 10,000, because that means you have to put 10x amount of energy and focus on reaching your goals. And
Yes.
then another book would be, The Millionaire Next Door that we talked about, and it basically talks about how people need to live within their means. So you shouldn't go and
Yes.
spend more money than you have. A lot of those people that were self-made millionaires, they didn't do it by putting stuff on a credit card or a student loan or car payments or mortgages. That's all the traps that people fall into. I try to stay clear of that, but it's just a mindset of the way that you see the world and think and react. So,
But you
Lewis,
don't
kind of
think, huh?
go ahead,
No,
go ahead.
you can go.
No, I was just saying it's just what it does is it starts to trigger your mindset into thinking differently. And then once your brain, you start thinking differently, like with Rich Dad Poor Dad, he talks about what I'm telling you about how you see your house as an asset, but really it's a liability, because anything that takes money out of your pocket is a liability, and stuff that brings money in every month
It's an
is
asset.
is an asset. So when you start to look at it like that, you start to say, okay, well, maybe that $40,000 car I have on the driveway that costs me $700 a month car payment, maybe that's not an asset. Maybe that's a liability. This house that I live in, like for example, my sister bought a house a couple of years ago, right? And she bought the house, and within a year in Florida, the equity in her house went up $100,000, right, of equity, just because where she lived at. But the issue is, since she still lives into that house, if she sells a house, where are you going to live? You see what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. When you guys sit here and say, okay, my vehicle is an asset, my house I live in is an asset. Well, is it really? You have to pay property taxes, you have to pay maintenance, you have to pay insurance, you have to pay a mortgage, you have to pay all this stuff every month. And the same way
Yes.
with your vehicle, right? Your vehicle, you might say, well, does the vehicle make me money, or do I have a car payment, and do I have to pay for my tags being renewed and my insurance and gas and repairs? So it's just a different mindset of looking at what are things that are actually an asset that's going to bring positive cash flow coming in every month versus what's going to be a liability taking money out of your pocket. Go ahead, Lewis. I didn't mean to interrupt.
I was going to say, from your personal experience and everything that you said and that you just learned, would you buy a house for personal use?
Bro, I'll tell you, when I was younger and I bought a house, what I did is I bought a fourplex apartment complex, and I was working at General Electric driving a forklift, and I bought this 4 unit apartment complex. If it's more than 4 units, it's zoned as commercial, but it's still residential. It's 4 units or less. So what I did is I didn't have a wife and kids and a family, but what I did is I bought this 4 unit apartment complex. I lived in one of the units upstairs. Each one of the units were 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom. I lived in one of the units upstairs on the second floor, and then I had these three other units in my apartment complex, and I rented each one of those 3 units out in the apartment complex. And I didn't make me a lot of money, but what it did is I took that
Pay for
money
it.
from those 3 units, and it paid the rent, it paid the mortgage every month, and it paid the lights and water and utilities and the dumpster around back. And I basically had a house to live in for free. So that's what I did. And then after I was there for 6 months or a year, what I did is I took the utility hookups for the washer and dryer. It was in the basement, and I took those and put them in the little closet in their rooms. Like then they opened up a little closet. They had the washer and dryer hookups were in the closet in the living room. So then
Mhm.
what I did is I moved from the upstairs unit on the second floor into the basement of the building, and then I rented out that other unit. So now I have 4 different units that were all being rented out, and I was living in the basement. I didn't care, The
Awesome.
basement was as big as the whole apartment complex, and then in the
Mhm.
basement I had like a little bathroom and a kitchen and a bedroom built in the basement of this unit, and I had 4 different apartments that I rented out. So basically, I got to live there for free. Plus, I made an extra $500 a month by living there. So, like that's what I'm saying. It's just a different way of looking at things versus someone else is saying, "Well, I want to get a white picket fence or a house for me to live in." Well, no, dude, that's great if it's the 1950s or 60s. Like it's just a different like mindset. And so I got that unit. It was 5 minutes away from work, and like I said, bro, every month I had enough cash flow coming in from that rental properties from those 4 units that paid my mortgage, paid the water and lights and trash bill every month, and I basically lived there for free. So
That
that's what
is
I'm talking
my
about.
exact plan that I plan to do, but I'm gonna use my VA loan to get a quad.
See, me and you, we think the same way, bro. That's what I'm
That
saying.
is my
Even though,
exact thing. That
yeah,
is
even
my
though me
plan.
and you, even though you're in Germany and I'm in Florida, like our brains work the same. So that's why that's why every time I talk to you, it's kind of like talking to a cousin or something. We think the same.
Exactly.
So, hey, man, I appreciate you jumping on and hanging out with us, Lewis. Before we let you go, I got to put you on the spot. What are some of your goals or thoughts, or what are some of your future plans that you have, you see for yourself in the future that you're kind of working on? Maybe you haven't talked about it yet on your podcast or YouTube channel, but what are some things like where do you see yourself in 5 years from now? Like, let's put it like that.
In 5 years, I will be 43. I would be on the same path I am at now, but just 5 years down the path. I think I'll
Yeah.
be a more disciplined, more dedicated, more inspirational person. I think I will have helped more people get out of that mindset that we were just talking about and kind of come over to the other side of the digital entrepreneur where life is a lot better, a lot less stressful. It still has stress, a lot of stress, but at least you can control your time. You can control how much money you make with no type of limits on how much money that you can make. And I just think I'll be living a life of proof even more than I am now.
Okay, you got it. All right. All right, Lewis. So tell people where they can find you at on YouTube and Instagram. They want to come by and check you out and follow you. I have your links listed down below in the description, but let them know where they can check you out at.
You can find me at Lewis Moore III on any of your favorite social media platforms: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I'm everywhere just at Lewis Moore III.
Okay, got it. Now, Lewis, give us your final thoughts. Tell people why they need to focus on. It's your duty to get it. It's not just something where if it happens, it happens. It's not going to happen unless you make it happen, right?
Yeah, life doesn't work like that. There are the outliers who may win the lottery or do things like that, but if you're waiting for money to just fall from the sky, it's not going to happen for you. And if it does happen for you, you won't be prepared for it to actually like make a difference because you're going to mess it up anyway. So I think anything worth having is worth studying. So I think everybody should study money. How does money work? Where does it come from? How do banks work? Like you should know all this type of things because that's the number one thing. Like it's like air. Nobody thinks about how important air is until they don't have it. Then air is the most important thing in the world. And nobody ever thinks about how important money is until they don't have it. And when you don't have it, chances are it's already too late or it's already a dire situation to where you're not thinking straight anyway. So learn how money works. It's very, very important.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Sorry, guys. So all the links are going to be down below. Go ahead, follow our guest, Lewis Moore III. I want to thank everybody in the audience for hanging out with us and spending time with us today. And I want to thank our guest, Lewis, for taking time out of his day on a Saturday to jump on and hang out with us today. So thank
Thank
everybody
you.
for jumping on. Go follow our guest. All the links are going to be down below in the description. And I will have a new video out for you guys soon. Until next time, we'll catch you guys later. You guys have a great holiday weekend. We'll catch you guys later. Bye, guys.